Hi. Today I want to talk about why your New Year's resolution is pointless. There's a good chance that on the New Year's Eve, around midnight-ish, you'd sat or stood with a glass of something to toast in the new year and made a resolution with regards to what it is that you're going to achieve over the next 12 months. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for creating plans and goals and aspirations. But I want to share with you that 86% of people that set New Year's resolutions actually sticks to them for no more than 6 weeks into the new year. And by the middle of February, 86% of people who set out with the intents to either lose weight or to go to the gym more or read a book a week or stop smoking or stop drinking or whatever it is that you've set out to achieve, 86% of people won't last more than 6 weeks before they retract back to their old ways. So today's video is, what's the point? It's all about being able to understand as to how the other 16% go on and turn those into a reality. You see, there's a good chance that this time last year you also set some New Year's resolutions about what you were going to achieve in the last 12 months. And I wonder if you was to go back and honestly review how well you did with that, as to how many of you could fly the flag and celebrate at Christmas saying, I managed to lose that stone in weight, I managed to be able to give up smoking, I managed to be able to go to the gym 4 days a week, every week of the year. Whatever it was that you set for yourself, no more than 16% of the people that start out ever achieve it. Now, don't get me wrong, I want to quickly share with you that there is light at the end of the tunnel here. I don't want you to quickly switch off now and subsequently think that it was pointless setting those resolutions in the first place, if in actual fact I'm only about 5 weeks away from being able to give up on them already. You see, in 2019, one of my clients set himself the goal that he was going to be teetotal for 2020. That he was going to give up alcohol for an entire year. Now, don't get me wrong, he's by no means an alcoholic, but certainly a lot of the business that he did was around networking in pubs and clubs and restaurants. It was about being able to meet people for a drink and to be able to socialise. And a lot of the business that he did was around socialising with people, to be able to network, to be able to build those relationships. And he perceived that the need to drink alcohol in order to be in that environment, in order for the business to continue to grow. And he came to the conclusion that he wanted to see as to how well he could continue to grow the business without the need of alcohol, to be able to retract alcohol from the equation and yet still continues to be able to meet in those places and do the business, but not with alcohol. And he did it. He did it exceptionally well. In fact, he did it so well that on the 24th of July, the business had met its previous year's annual turnover. In just 6 months and 3 weeks, the business was already at the state that it had been 12 months prior. And ironically, as he continued to remain teetotal for the remainder of 2019, the business doubled in size in terms of inquiries and conversions and customers and clients and turnover in 12 months. As a direct result of implementing all of the things that we've been teaching within the Add a Zero program that I teach on a regular basis to all of my clients, but by having the clarity of mind, the extended day, being able to have absolute focus by removing something that had otherwise become a distraction. And it was on that basis that I chose to accept the gauntlet as it was laid. And as of the 1st of January 2020, I also set the goal of giving up alcohol for 2020. Now, just to put it clear, I wouldn't consider myself an alcoholic either. Neither of us were hitting the bottle in a morning, but to the same extent, alcohol played a part in my weekly life as well. It was something that I did networking. It's something I liked to be able to do on a Friday afternoon or a Friday evenings to be able to relax after a week at work. It was part of my daily or weekly routines to be able to have alcohol as part of my routine. And therefore, to be able to make the decision that I was going to give that up was something that was a challenge. It was something that I was both looking forward to and apprehensive about. And sure enough, by the 31st of January, I was still crossing off the days of being able to determine as to how long it had been since I last had a drink. And yet, on New Year's Eve, a few days ago now, I was able to be able to celebrate with a lime and soda the fact that I'd also given up alcohol for an entire year. Now, interestingly, and why I want to be able to share this with you, why it's so important for you to be able to understand the importance of this, is it's not about the deadline. It's not about I'm looking forward to having a drink at 3 minutes past midnight on the 1st of January. It's not about being able to continue to push towards the end result. It's about being able to start to enjoy the journey that leads us to the end result. It's about being able to push us back into the here and now, as opposed to seeing it as a need to be able to do something for a reward in the future. And that is what I want to share with you today. And it's why most people fail with their New Year's resolutions, and why I want you to be able to succeed in whatever it is that you set out to achieve this year, either personally or professionally or both, by being able to change our mindset with regards to the goals that we set in the first place. So first of all, let's dispel the myth. And if you haven't already watched it, there's a great video where I interview Dave Heiner and we talk about why SMART goals aren't. If you haven't watched that, I strongly recommend that you take some time out and listen to the interview with Dave as we talk about why SMART goals are anything but. But let's just quickly run through it, because I'm sure that you might have heard from it previously, and let's just be able to eradicate that completely. There's a lot of teachings out there in leadership and in terms of business when it suggests that we all need to be able to sit down and set SMART goals. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound goals. And yet that's just bonkers. As an entrepreneur, why would you ever set a goal that's achievable and realistic? You see, the problem with setting achievable and realistic goals is you're using your current level of thinking. And your current level of thinking has got you to where you are today. And that's either still a little bit overweight, or still drinking alcohol, or not going to the gym as frequently as you would like to. The level of thinking that you have applied to your life, the level of attitude and aptitude to the goals that you've set yourself, have led you to where you are right now. And if you continue to use that level of thinking, or that mode of thinking, when you're setting new goals, then you're still setting them with the same attitude of achievable and realistic that's got you to where you are now. It's a broken record, and we continue to, it's a broken record, and we continue to, it's a broken record. You see the problem? We've got to achieve a different level of thinking if we want to achieve a different level of outcome. Let me just quickly say that again. We've got to start with a different level of thinking if we want to achieve a different level of outcome. And this is where most people fail. This is where most people fail to give due considerations to their level of thinking. I'm a firm believer, and I've got it written as a decal on one of the walls in the office, you don't know what you don't know. And yet it's what we don't know that is preventing us currently from achieving that we aspire to. So one of the things that I invite people to do when they're setting goals is to completely clear your mind, to be able to create some form of vision of what you would like to be able to achieve, clear your mind of the current process, of the current time frame of where we are right here and now, and then start with the end in mind. Start with sitting on that beach and work your way back. Work your way back to, well, what do you need to do now in order to achieve that? If your future self was able to give your current self a piece of advice, what would it be? If you could ask that successful person sat on the beach as to how they did it, what would they tell you? If money or time were neither an objection to you, you had all the time in the world and you all had the money in the world, what would you do and why? And it's only when we retract ourselves, if we extract ourselves from the current reality of where we are right now, and we transpose ourselves, we transport ourselves into that new future person, the fitter, healthier, alcohol-free, pescatarian, whatever it is that you set out to achieve, if you go into the mindset of the successful person that you want to become, and then determine, so what are the actions that you need to take in order to become that person, it's a far, far different level of thinking than it is sat here now in the current reality, trying to determine as to what that might look like. The next thing I want to talk about is if we're not going to use SMART, then what should we do instead? And for that, I'm most grateful to Brendan Burchard and his book, which talks all about dumb goals. You see, if we're not going to be smart, then we need to replace it with something else. And Brendan came up with this concept that if we're not going to be smart, then perhaps we ought to be dumb instead. And there's lots of research now to be able to support the fact that, one, as David Heine proves, the person that is quoted as having come up with SMART objectives never, ever, ever used the word SMART objectives for setting big goals. And therefore maybe Brendan Burchard does have the right answer in talking about dumb goals. Now obviously this is an acronym, so if you've got a pen to hand, I suggest you quickly scribble down that DUMB is the acronym for dream-based. Being able to think about the future, to be able to visualise what it is that the future holds, to be dream-based, as opposed to this achievable and realistic, because that's in the current now. The next one, U, is uplifting. Being able to write about this or to talk about this and communicate this in a motivational, positive manner. To be able to say, I'm going to be 15 stone, not I need to lose, because lose is a negative terminology to it. There's a negative connotation to it. So why would you ever want to lose something? I'm going to retain my 15 stones is probably a far better way of, as opposed to saying I need to lose 3 stones to become 15. Not that that's my goals or aspirations or current problem. But uplifting, being able to communicate the intent in a positive manner and some things to work towards as opposed to some things to move away from. We all understand the benefits of both carrot and stick, and we'll talk about that in a second or two. But to be able to move towards the golden carrot as opposed to away from the big stick is far more insightful and far more engaging with people than it is to continually think, well, you know, I'm fat and I drink too much and I smoke and I don't go to the gym, and all of the negative connotations aren't giving us any motivations to try and move towards something. Whereas if we think about that future state, about what we want to achieve, and then we communicate what we're going to do in a positive manner to be able to move towards that, it's far more likely that we're going to be able to maintain that beyond the middle of February each year. So the third is method friendly. There's nothing worse than coming up with a set of goals and principles and systems and processes that become so complex that it almost becomes impossible to remember what to do. And the best example here is dieting. You see, many people will start out in January and say, oh, I need to lose some weight. I've eaten too much over Christmas. I could do with losing a few pounds. There's that negative connotation straight away. I've got to lose something. Well, there's no inspirations to lose anything. I would never want to lose my phone or lose my watch. So why would I want to lose any weight? It doesn't work. I don't understand the benefits of losing one and not all of the other things that are important to me in my life. So I've got to change the transcripts, the manuscripts that I use in order to become more motivated to achieve it. But then if I was going to be saying, well, if I'm going to lose some weight, then I need to sign up for this diet, and it tells me that I've got to have celery juice in the morning, and I've got to have this shake with 13 different ingredients in it at lunchtime, and then I've got to freshly prepare 19 different vegetables and 14 fruits a day, and I've got to drink this much water. And if it becomes overly complex, the chances are that you're not going to follow it. And if you don't follow it, it's not going to have the impact it has. And as a result, oh, do you know, diets don't work. And all of a sudden, we've created this dialogue because we've overcomplicated the problem. We've got to find a means of being able to achieve what it is that we set out to achieve in as easy a manner as possible, so it becomes more likely that we stick to the plan in the first place. We've got to be able to say, can I still achieve the results by taking that away and that away and that away? And what am I left with? How can I simplify the method of achieving what it is that I set out to achieve, as opposed to overcomplicating it, because there's a good chance that I'm not going to follow it. And then the final one, and this is the crucial one, this is the one that makes the difference, the big difference between either achieving or not achieving, is it's got to be behaviour driven and not goal orientated. And what I mean by that is what we started off by talking about in the first place. There is no point saying, I want to lose 3 stone in weight. Because one, the likelihood of me sticking to a plan, perhaps a complex plan that I've seen in the past, and it says it's going to take me 104 weeks to be able to follow this plan of 26 of these and 19 of those and 14 different exercises, and for 104 weeks before I achieve my goal. The likelihood of me sticking to the plan religiously and effectively for 104 weeks is probably as likely as me winning the lottery even when I don't buy a ticket. We've got to be able to communicate this in a behaviour driven manner, i.e. stop eating sweets or replace sweets with a piece of fruit. Simple. Reward myself every time I get to the end of the day and say, do you know what, I'm really pleased that I didn't have a bag of crisps today, I ate some assorted nuts instead, and I know that that's better for me and therefore it's contributing towards my overall goals. If we can become behaviour driven and starts to create milestones of reward for a change in behaviour, a change in attitude, a change in aptitude towards what it is that we set out to achieve, as opposed to this long, laborious goal and a whole series of steps and measures to try and get there, that perhaps if we falter from, we then think, well, what's the point? I might as well give up. I didn't stick to it. If we can simply turn around and say, what do you need to do today to contribute towards the big, fat, hairy, audacious goal that you've set yourself for 2021? What step do you need to take? What single step do you need to take today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day to work towards what it is that you set out to achieve? Now there's the last and final thing I want to share with you on today's video, is about big, fat, hairy, audacious goals. We call them BFHAGs in my true north. Those goals that are so big, fat and scary that unless you are fully committed to it 24/7, that there's less chance that you're ever going to achieve what it is that you set out to achieve. When you might argue, well, if it's so big and scary, why would you even ever start? And it's back to that old expression, isn't it? You know, if you you reach for the moon, reach for the stars, and you might only ever hit the moon, but at least it's further than trying to climb a tree. We've got to be able to set a goal that's so big, fat and scary, but also so motivating that every single action that I take on every single day is contributing towards a goal that I want to be able to look back on as a legacy and say, we were able to make a difference. Which is why we've set our mission to be able to help 1 million business owners add a zero to their personal disposable income. Now, don't get me wrong, there's an ulterior motive to this. When we first set the challenge, there were 986,000 unemployed people in the UK. And I came up with the concept that in order for you as a business owner to be able to grow your business significantly enough and sustainably add a zero to your personal disposable income whilst the business continues to grow and develop, then there's a damn good chance that you're going to need some new staff. You're going to need a larger team to be able to achieve that. If nothing else, for you to be able to take some extra time out the business to go and enjoy having that additional income. So if I could help 1 million business owners to grow their business significantly enough that they can afford to take some more money out of it and enjoy some more of what life has to offer, then inadvertently, we could have helped businesses across the UK to eradicate unemployment. And for me, what a legacy to be able to say that we contributed towards an unemployed country. Re-employing people within the countries to eradicate unemployment. Now, don't get me wrong, since we set the challenge, obviously with COVID and the likes, sadly lots more people have subsequently either been made redundant or businesses have failed as a result, and there's now well over 1 million people in need of further employment. I'm not going to change the mission. I'm just going to work even harder to be able to help business owners to be able to grow their business by 3 or 4 or 5 staff so we could still meet our mission. But it does mean that it's a lifelong piece of work. It does mean that every single day we are committed to being able to do some things to contribute towards the overall mission. And every single day I wake up and I get excited about what are we going to do today to be able to make that difference, to be able to make that incremental change, that incremental difference, that step forward towards that big, fat, hairy, audacious goal. So please, if you've watched all of this through to the end, and I'm most grateful if you're still with me, but I want to be able to express to you, don't set smart goals. Don't set goals that are too complicated and we can't follow easily. Don't use negative terminologies to be able to either lose something or give up something. Find a more motivating and positive way of being able to communicate it. And most importantly, set something that is so big and exciting that every single morning you wake up and you jump out of bed and can't wait to be able to make a contribution towards it. And that will make the difference. I'm Jay Allen from My True North. Hope you've enjoyed today. If you have, please leave us a comment below. Otherwise, at least be willing to be able to drop either an emoticon and show us what your thoughts are. And maybe you might even consider sharing this with other people that they get the benefit also. Thanks again for watching. Look forward to speaking again real soon. Take care.